It may have been Easter for some, but for Bitcoin, it was just another opportunity for a social attack from the mainstream media / corporate-owned media. That's right. On April 9th, the New York Times released a total FUD article about Bitcoin's energy. But you'll notice the narrative has slightly changed. Welcome back. I hope everybody had a great weekend. While some people were celebrating a holiday, the New York Times took advantage of this to release this absolute shit show of an article. Anyways, we're not going to go through the whole thing. We're just going to give a premise, and we're also going to dive into a rebuttal from Daniel Batten. You'll notice the narrative has slightly shifted. So here we go. Texas was grasping for electricity. Winter Storm Uri had knocked out power plants across the state, leaving tens of thousands of homes in icy darkness. By the end of February 14th, 2021, nearly 40 people had died, some from the freezing cold. Meanwhile, in the husk of a one-time aluminum smelting plant, an hour outside of Austin, row upon row of computers were using enough electricity to power about 6,500 homes as they raced out to earn Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency. Okay, we're gonna stop right here because that's pretty much all we need to hear. So obviously they understand their reader base. They understand that their readers have no idea how Bitcoin works. So they understand that the New York Times understands, or I should say the authors understand, that they can create a narrative that sounds plausible and makes it seem like Bitcoin. It was somehow the Bitcoin miners' fault that the Texas grid is completely under-maintained and under-invested in. Oh yeah, Bitcoin's been around for the last 50 years, destroying the grid and not putting the money where it belongs. That's it, evil Bitcoin. These people are fucking lunatics. I'm sorry for swearing, but they are. They're just complete lunatics. I just want to remind everyone before we dive into the rebuttal, those Bitcoin miners, they're paying for their electricity. They get a bill, they pay for it, okay? So this idea that somehow the Bitcoin miners are responsible for this type of stuff is just absolutely insane. And moreover, right, when we have power outages, you ever hear about other factories turning off, right? Shutting down just to power the grid? No, but Bitcoin miners do. It's a very, very strange double standard. It's a very strange double standard. Anyways, let's dive into the rebuttal here and let's get a little bit of clarity, because we can see the picture that they're painting, right? Bitcoiners are going to destroy all the resources in the quest for this digital thing. You know, so yeah, it's all right. We can see that crap. Unfortunately for them, we have truth on our side. And as Bitcoiners, we appreciate low time preference. So they may make noise for a time, but eventually the truth will make its way over all of their lies. You gotta love Bitcoiners, right? It doesn't take long to get rebuttals for all of this crap that the mainstream media tries to put out. Here we go from D.S. Batten. Statements like Gabriel Dance interviewed Bitcoin miners, energy experts, scientists, and politicians and analyzed thousands of records suggest real investigation took place. Yes, they do, because perception is reality, and that's what the corporate-owned media is excellent at doing. It is excellent at portraying that this perception is real. In fact, we got word of a hit piece made to look like research back in February. The telltale signs. Out of his entire time spent with Nick Carter, who's spent thousands of hours understanding Bitcoin and disaster recovery, only comment which made print was him revisiting a statement about no emissions, non-current data. Bitcoin no longer uses mostly fossil fuel. And that's true. We've actually shown time and time again that out of Norway, over 90% of the Bitcoin miners are using renewables. Actually, specifically, they're using hydroelectricity. So this is, anyways, it is just such bullshit that these people do not have a leg to stand on. Third, full of unsupported assertions such as putting immense pressure on the power grid. The reality is that, and see, here we go. The reality is that the people who run the grids say Bitcoin mining does the exact opposite. It finds a home for new renewable energy and stabilizes their intermittency. 4, no objective reference to earlier CNBC reports of evidence Bitcoin mining stabilized grids during winter storms. Lancium data that corroborates this, and ERCOT grid operator data that corroborates this as well. Number 5, no objective assessment of how Bitcoin helps find first customers for renewable operators, shortens interconnection queues. And number 6, no objective evaluation of Bitcoin mining versus other techniques used for demand response. Sorry, I called it disaster recovery. I apologize. 7, no objective assessment of the consumer benefit and renewable operator benefit of establishing a floor price for all variable renewable energy so that renewable operation can scale faster. 8, no objective assessment of how Bitcoin mining makes renewable operators economically viable, therefore allowing them to expand operations through being a customer of last resort for their otherwise curtailed energy. 9, no objective reference to the fact Bitcoin mining has an inbuilt economic incentive, wholesale electricity price, to be a non-rival consumer of electricity. In short, for facts about Bitcoin mining and the renewable grid, we have people like at Sean Energy, Brad Jones, Daniel Roberts, people with first-hand knowledge, not arm's-length academics, politicians, and journalists who are told the article is Bitcoin is bad. Now go write it. Before we close this clip out, I just want to finish with this piece here from the article. Until June 2021, most Bitcoin mining was in China. Then it drove out Bitcoin operations, at least for a time, citing their power use among other reasons. The United States quickly became the industry's global leader. Okay. So this article also wants us to believe that China banned Bitcoin because of its energy use. Guys, make no mistake, okay? I know this is going to sound, I know that this is going to sound mean, but it's the truth. Nobody gives a fuck about the environment. Okay, nobody really gives a fuck about the environment. That's just the honest to God truth. Okay, nobody gives a shit, and the truth of the matter is that governments care about their level, their ability to control. Right? That's what matters. And what Bitcoin does, if Bitcoin gets further and further adopted, is it erodes the power from the government, because governments mostly get their power from the fact that they are closest to the money printer and they are part of the money printing process, and they are usually the first to get the funds from that money printing process. So when you take that process away from them, you take away a huge lever of power. Now all of a sudden the government actually has to convince you, like a business. They have to convince you that you should separate yourself from your money in order to pay for a service that they claim will provide value. Okay? So make no mistake, no one gives a shit about the environment. What they care about is power and control. And they are going to try to fool every one of us with the environment.